tomorrow night into Wednesday, and then another largely fine day, really. High pressure sticks around, and so the settled weather stays with us as we go through the end of the week. And heading towards the weekend, signs of some rain arriving, but before then, really it's staying dry, some decent sunshine on offer, and temperatures, well, around average, maybe a touch below at times. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users in the north should be cautious when crossing the A9 Dornoch Bridge due to high winds. In Gloucestershire, an accident on the A40 westbound between the A417 near Gloucester and the A48 is causing delays. On the M6 northbound near Birmingham, significant delays occur between Junction 6 and Junction 7 due to a broken down vehicle. And on the trains, disruption exists between Hereford and Moreton-in-Marsh on Great Western Railway. Additionally, buses replace trains between Watford Junction and St Albans Abbey with a reduced service between Bedford and Bletchley. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good evening to you and welcome to GB News Tonight with me, your host, Martin Daubney. Coming up with tonight's action-packed show.
We are not the world's food bank. It is not for us to provide welfare for people coming in from all over the world.
Reform UK has announced its most radical reform to migration policy yet, which could lead to the expulsion of hundreds of thousands of people. I'll be joined on the show by the newly defected Reform MP Danny Kruger in just a moment's time. And meanwhile,
Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine.
In what's been slammed as a desperate attempt to fend off the radical wing of the Labour Party, the Prime Minister has defied 90% of the population to recognise the state of Palestine. And in yet more Jeffrey Epstein-related controversy, it has been revealed today that Sarah Ferguson called the billionaire paedophile a supreme friend after he was convicted. That's prompted a host of children's charities to drop her from being a patron throughout the day. Plus, GB News regular and former Attorney General Sir Michael Ellis has unveiled his own plan, a radical conservative agenda in government, and he'll be joining me for tonight's finale on the show. That's all coming up on the show, but first, here's your latest news headlines, and here's Katie Bowen.
Martin, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 1 minute past 7. Several charities have now cut ties with Sarah, Duchess of York, after it was disclosed she sent a message to convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein describing him as a supreme friend. A spokesman for the Duchess said that she sent the email in which she apologised to Epstein for associating him with paedophilia in the media because he threatened to sue her. The Teenage Cancer Trust, who worked with the Duchess for 35 years, has dropped her as patron, as has Julia's House, the Natasha Allergy Research Foundation, Prevent Breast Cancer and the Children's Literacy Charity. The British Heart Foundation becomes the latest organisation to make the move. The Duchess of York spokesman said that the email sent in April 2011 was sent in the context of advice she was given to try and assuage Epstein and his threats. Elsewhere today, the government has blasted Nigel Farage's new immigration and welfare plans as half-baked, unfunded and falling apart in real time. Reform UK says it would scrap indefinite leave to remain and ban migrants from accessing benefits, claiming the move could save £230 billion. But Labour and the Chancellor say the numbers have no basis in reality, warning the policy risks breaking up families and harming businesses. Mr Farage insists the changes would end what he calls the era of cheap foreign labour and cut the welfare bill. Well, in an interview with GB News political editor Christopher Hope, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, said Reform UK's plans will involve more administration and bureaucracy.
He's talking about people who've got permanent leave to stay here, who've made their lives here, and what he's actually saying is let's have lots more administration and bureaucracy at the cost of the taxpayer. He's got form on this because when he campaigned along with Boris Johnson for Brexit, that's meant a huge extra bill for taxpayers, a lot more red tape, and I think he should be honest about that.
The 80th UN General Assembly is underway in New York, with the summit coming as the UK formally recognises a Palestinian state. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has condemned the move as a reward for terrorism, insisting a Palestinian state will not happen. Canada, Australia and Portugal also made the declaration alongside the UK in a historic shift. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says she's warned Israel not to annex parts of the West Bank in retaliation. France and several other European nations are expected to follow suit with recognition. And US President Donald Trump is set to hold talks with the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, at the UN this week. Speaking earlier today in New York, Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper says Russia's recent incursions risk direct confrontation with NATO.
We stand ready to take all steps necessary to defend NATO's skies and NATO's territory. We are vigilant and we are resolute. And if we need to confront planes that are operating in NATO airspace without permission, then we will do so. The United Kingdom stands by our friends.
You're up to date on GB News now. It's back to Martin.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Thank you, Katie, and welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, your host, Martin Dordry. Now, earlier on today, we saw an astonishingly radical policy announcement from Reform UK leader Nigel Farage on mass migration.
We will not only say that these people do not qualify for indefinite leave to remain, we will abolish indefinite leave to remain as a category in this country.
Well, the plans propose a Trump-style clampdown on migration, abolishing indefinite leave to remain, which would mean that foreign nationals would no longer be allowed to claim benefits. And with the measures focused on targeting the millions that entered under the Boris wave, Reform UK has claimed this would save the taxpayer an astonishing £234 billion. I'm delighted to say I'm joined now by the newly defected Reform MP, Danny Kruger, the man in charge of preparing for government at Reform UK. Danny Kruger, welcome to the show. A pleasure to have your company. Well, it's certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons today. It's been called a danger to democracy by Ed Davey, half-baked by the Conservatives. Brussels has weighed it in, and even our good old friend Sadiq Khan has said this is a terrible idea. Tell us why you think this will woo the voters.
Well, I hope it'll be popular, but fundamentally it's the right thing to do. We all recognise that because of the very lax system that the last government, that I'm afraid I was supportive of, introduced after Brexit, we've had way too many people coming in here into our country on visas that are supposed to be for skilled workers, in fact, for very unskilled workers in many cases, and a large number of them bringing their family and dependents. So we have over half the people who are here on these visas and on a route to indefinite leave to remain, not working at all. And those that do work are undercutting British workers and lowering our wages. So we need to deal with this. Now, other parties look to the future and think we might have a tighter system in the future. We're recognising we have a problem now. We have millions of people under the so-called Boris wave who are about to be eligible for indefinite leave to remain. That means they can claim benefits from the British taxpayer and be on a route to citizenship. We say we're going to abolish that status and require people to apply for a new visa scheme. They will only get it if they're earning decent wages, only if they're not claiming benefits, only if they can speak English to an acceptable standard, so that we know that they are making a genuine contribution to our country. That feels like the right and the fair way to treat the British taxpayer.
Danny Krug, I wanted to ask you about the repeated weaponisation of the so-called Boris wave today by your new leader, Nigel Farage, of course, referring to your former party leader, Boris Johnson. He was specifically asked about people defecting to Reform UK from the Conservatives today. Let's play that clip.
Well, we've accepted one or two people that were in that government who understand the error of their ways and have come to us for repentance.
Danny Kruger, does that describe you? Have you seen the error of your ways? Have you gone to Nigel Farage for repentance?
I think that's fair enough. I do repent of much of what the last government did. I mean, to be fair to me, I opposed quite a lot of it at the time, publicly as well as privately. I had deep disquiet about our position on illegal migration in particular, and I rebelled against the government on that. But you know, I was elected in 2019 to help us take back control, and that meant take back control of our borders. No 2019 voters wanted to see the scale of immigration that was then introduced. I blame the Home Office primarily for that. It wasn't Parliament that set the thresholds that produced this great wave. Ministers need to take responsibility for that, and I'm afraid the Conservative Party needs to take responsibility for that. I deeply regret it, and it's been a big part of my decision to leave the party, because I don't think we're doing enough to address the problems that the Conservatives created. What this plan will do under Nigel's leadership is to undo the damage of the so-called Boris wave and ensure that the millions of people who are currently en route to being able to claim benefits and to get on a path to citizenship won't be able to do that. And in future, we won't be issuing this status at all. People who come to this country must be absolutely clear that they are contributing to it rather than taking from taxpayers.
Danny Kruger, for sure, it's going to be the fight of your political life and Nigel Farage's, because already people are saying this will drag people out of the country. It'll be akin to the Windrush scandal. The emotional attacks will come and they will be relentless. And also there'll be the financial attacks, saying the numbers simply don't add up. Astonishing sums of money, 234 billion quid.
So that figure comes from a think tank, the Centre for Policy Studies, who estimate the lifetime cost of the so-called Boris wave. They've today said that we can't rely on those figures, and that's absolutely right. We can't rely on them because the government doesn't issue sufficiently accurate numbers. But the fact is, the real number is going to be much higher than that. We're going to have to include the cost. We should be including the cost of the NHS, social care, other aspects of government spending that are not currently calculated properly. It's also the case that that number is based on the cost of previous cohorts of people with indefinite leave to remain, mostly Europeans coming here. We've now had a wave of people from the rest of the world, from much poorer developing countries. The likelihood of them staying is much greater than for Europeans. So the fact is, whatever the number is, it's almost certainly going to be significantly higher than that figure.
And Danny Kruger, quick reaction to a clip. We interviewed Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader down on the coast in Bournemouth today. It's fair to say we upset the end of the peer atmosphere. Take a look.
Out these Lego models of Nigel Farage, that's him dressed as Donald Trump. I mean, this guy is living rent-free in your brain. He's got 5 MPs, you've got 72. Why are you bothering about it?
Because he's a threat to our country and to our democracy. What he wants to do, and that's why it looks a bit like Donald Trump, is he wants to bring Trump's America to the United Kingdom. I think people who care about British values don't want to be, an adjunct to Trump's America.
A danger to our country, a threat to democracy. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think you've got Ed Davey there trying to bring American-style culture wars to our politics. What actually we need, and he talks about democracy, is we need the government of this country to reflect the aspirations and the interests of the British people. Polling shows that increasingly people are rejecting the old mainstream parties that have delivered the complicated set of crises that we're all experiencing, which include the Liberal Democrats from their time in coalition. What we need is genuine democracy that will see a new government elected with an actual mandate, an actual plan, which is what I'm working on with Nigel and Zia and the team, to ensure that when we get a new government, we actually get genuine change. So it's a massive challenge, and I'm afraid, Ed playing around with Lego isn't going to deliver much change at all.
Thank you very much, Danny Kruger. Pleasure to have your company on GB News tonight. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Well, I'm now joined in the studio by GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Nigel, it's a big, bold, eye-catching, and some might say brash plan, and it's been roundly attacked, as you'd imagine, by Labour, the Conservatives, and the Liberal Democrats. But aren't people just ready now for big ideas? They're sick of tinkering.
They might be, but what this actually is a populist policy, which means that it's coming up with a simplistic answer.
What's populist?
Well, populist in the sense that you look for that. You deal with a complex problem, you come up with a simplistic solution to it, and the idea is to woo the voters.
That's what people want.
Well, people may want it, but
build the wall.
But the whole thing is it's got to be practical. It's got to be practical.
Send them back.
It's got
to
to
Venezuela.
work.
It worked.
It has got to work. You're absolutely right. I think that people do want migrants sent back. The problem
so it's not populist. It's popular.
Well, it's popular and populist. Populist means it's simplistic. So if you're looking at the practicalities of it, what happens to the NHS, where nearly 1 in 5 workers are foreigners? What happens to social care? 1 in 4 workers. Construction, about the same. Agriculture. All these things have to actually be taken into account.
Pay more wages.
Good. Let's try and do that. Yeah. Now, we'll start paying...
The Labour Party used to fight for increased wages. Now it's cheap foreign labour.
And I used to be a union negotiator and fought for higher wages too.
So you welcome this,
so let's take higher wages in the care sector. The reason we can't get British people to do it, A, because of the kind of work they would have to do. They don't want to wipe granny's bottom, effectively.
It's amazing how we ever got by with that immigrants in that sector. Come on.
Well, I mean... The
NHS has functioned for decades without uncontrolled immigration.
Well, no, it hasn't. The NHS has been functioning on the basis of foreign doctors and nurses coming over here, and that's been going on for a long time. So if you take the care sector, let's pay more, and then how do we actually pay for the fact that social care especially for elderly people, that particular
universal credit to propose that.
If you leave to remain into this country, the research by Oxford actually showed overall £28,000 to our economy.
If you take America,
Nigel Farage is coming up with... I mean, we don't have to argue figures, we can argue principles.
We've got to go to break. Thank you very much, Nigel. We'll come back for much more arguing soon. Keir Starmer has recognised Palestine, but is it time for Israel to retaliate and expel British diplomats? That's next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christys tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christys tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, your host, Martin Daubry. Now, here's a wee reminder of the Prime Minister's controversial decision to recognise Palestine as a state from over the weekend.
So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognises the state of Palestine.
Putting aside the various holes in the plan, including the fact that the UK now recognises the country with no clear borders, new polling has revealed a whopping 90% of the British population are outright opposed to Sir Keir Starmer's decision. Well, with the latest developments suggesting Israel considering it could expel French diplomats from Jerusalem over its decision to recognise Palestine, is it time that Israel did the same and expelled British diplomats too? Well, I'm joined in the studio by GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Nigel, we're just getting warmed up before the break. They're having a ding-dong about the previous topic. Let's pick up where we left off on this one. 90% of Brits oppose the Prime Minister's decision. 90% in a poll over the weekend actually think it's a grave mistake. Kemi Badenoch thinks this is a disaster that rewards terrorism. Nigel Farage calls it a betrayal of Israel. Nobody really wanted this. Why did Sir Keir Starmer go and do it?
I think because Israel would not listen to the international community. He gave Israel a number of conditions that they should meet. When they didn't do that, he said he would actually recognise the state of Palestine, and that's what he's done. It's not it's a symbolic move. It won't change things on the ground.
So why do it?
Because you've got to actually make a statement at some point and say, right, it's time that Israel actually obeyed international law. So that's what Keir Starmer did. And along with Australia, Canada, France, and pretty much most of the other member countries of the United Nations.
Well, United States hasn't.
No.
Germany hasn't. A whole host of nations haven't. And I put it to you, this was performative, it was nonsense. And actually, it's not about trying to do anything in the Middle East. It's about trying to solve the terrible political rift In the Labour Party, you've got Jezbollah, you've got the hard left, you've got people like Wes Streeting could lose their seats to people with a more Gaza take on their politics. This was about keeping the Labour Party's vote shored up. Be honest.
No, it was actually about making a statement. Look, it is not actually a huge step. What we believed in a two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. It's been long-term British foreign policy. It's not a huge step to actually recognise the other state.
Hamas don't want a two-state solution. They want to eviscerate.
They do. And as Keir Starmer has made clear, and so has the international community, Hamas would have no part in a future Palestine.
Is it as simple as that? I mean, we saw the son of one of Hamas's leaders gave an astonishing interview over the weekend where he said, actually, the people who broke into Israel on October the 7th, a lot of them weren't Hamas. They were civilians, out-of-control civilians, radicalised by Hamas. How on earth can anybody be sure that there's this clear line between the Hamas terrorists and the more liberal, soft Palestinians who only, if only Hamas weren't in control? It's delusional.
Move away from Gaza and think about the West Bank. And so on the West Bank, you've got the Palestinian Authority. They would be the new government. The Palestinian Authority have agreed to elections. They've agreed to reforms to actually form the state of Palestine. That's where Palestine will be. You mentioned the fact that there were holes in the borders. The only reason there are holes in the borders is because Israel keeps building settlements on Palestinian land. So
there are holes on the borders because terrorists broke out.
No, when you were talking about it doesn't meet the conditions for a state, one of the conditions for a state is it has proper borders, and because of
paragliders came in.
You're talking about Gaza. I'm talking about the West Bank. So the West Bank is where you start the process for the two-state solution. Hamas won't play a part in it. What happens to Gaza? Sure? Well, because the international community, Keir Starmer, have said there's no way that Hamas will be part of a new Palestinian state. They will not be part of the government.
Do you think anybody who's in charge of Palestine now or in the future gives a flying fig about what Sir Keir Starmer or David Lammy or any of them truly think? They were celebrating on the streets yesterday, terrorists.
Yeah,
saying thank you to our Prime Minister. It's shameful.
We have a situation where the Israeli government and Hamas turn around and say this is a victory for October the 7th.
Yeah.
It's not. It is not a victory for October the 7th. What we ask Israel to do was exercise their right to defend themselves, but to do it proportionately.
What's proportionate to 1,200 people being murdered? I mean, the Hebrew hostages being taken away, people being beheaded. What's proportionate to that?
The Hebrew Bible talks about an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. That is proportionate response. One eye, not two. That's the kind of thing you would expect Israel to actually obey, and they haven't. Now, we don't know the exact figures.
But their condition was the total eradication of Hamas. When do you stop?
Well, if you could eradicate Hamas, but do you then murder thousands and thousands of civilians at the same time?
If they're being used as shields by Hamas.
We don't know what the figures are, but 65,000 civilians appear to have been killed since the Gaza war began. That is way over the top from where we started from. Aid can't get in. These are all things Israel could have done and hasn't done.
OK, thank you very much, Nigel. I suspect we'll keep disagreeing on this one for a long time to come. Thank you very much indeed. Now, in just a moment's time, I'll be speaking to a world-renowned international interviewer, Daphne Barak, about the shocking news of Sarah Ferguson being dumped by 6 charities today already amidst the latest Jeffrey Epstein revelations. That's next.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you thought it was a bit chilly last night, well, it's going to be another bit of a cold one tonight with largely clear skies and light winds, all due to an area of high pressure being the imperfect ingredients for us to see our temperatures taking a bit of a dip. So it is going to stay mostly dry through the next few hours, the exception being just towards the far northeast of Scotland and maybe towards the southeastern tip of England as well, where there will be a few showers around. But otherwise, yes, a dry and clear night, which is why we're going to see those temperatures dropping. Even towns and cities getting into the low to mid single figures in quite a few places, and rural spots a few degrees lower than this, a touch of frost quite likely, especially across some parts of Scotland. As a result, there could be some mist and fog patches first thing tomorrow morning, but these will quickly burn away, and then it's looking like a fine sunny start across many southern areas, but some blustery winds and a few showers towards those southeastern coastal areas. Also a few showers for the far northwest of Wales, and could be a few coastal showers for parts of Scotland. Otherwise, across northern England, Northern Ireland and Scotland, it's looking largely dry. The showery bursts across Orkney and Shetland will continue again for a little while, but gradually easing as we go through the day. But the blustery showers across southeast England, they're actually going to pep up a little bit more as we go through into the afternoon. Also going to see a bit more cloud feeding in from the east, so turning cloudier across many parts of England and Wales, but most of us should still see some bright or sunny spells breaking through, and in the sunshine not feeling too bad, even if on paper temperatures are a few degrees below average for the time of year. Another chilly night to come tomorrow night into Wednesday, and then another largely fine day really. High pressure sticks around, and so the settled weather stays with us as we go through the end of the week, and heading towards the weekend, signs of some rain arriving, but before then really it's staying dry, some decent sunshine on offer, and temperatures, well, around average, maybe a touch below at times. Bye-bye.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts tonight at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Yeah. Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Now, it's been revealed that the Duchess of York sent emails to Jeffrey Epstein only weeks after publicly distancing herself from the paedophile back in 2011. Now, in the emails, Sarah Ferguson apologised for disowning him and called Epstein a supreme friend. Well, a spokesperson for the Duchess of York said the emails were sent in the context of advice the Duchess was given to try to besiege Epstein and his threats to sue her for defamation. But as a result of these revelations today, the Duchess of York has now been dropped by 6 charities as their patron, and the day is still rolling on. It could get worse. Well, I'm joined now by the world-renowned interviewer and the documentary filmmaker Daphne Barak. Daphne, a pleasure to have your company. Well, the chickens have really come home to roost. 6 charities in one day here in the United Kingdom have dropped the Duchess of York. It's been a terrible, terrible day for her.
Martin, first of all, I have never been that sad to sign on a scoop. It was just heartbreaking for me. I talked to Sarah a few weeks ago. I like Sarah. And I talked to her a few weeks ago, and she complained about the book, right? And she said, this is not true, Daphne. This is not true. I said, you have to go and say it, Sarah. I'm not going to do the dirty work for you. Either you say it or not. Otherwise, the public would assume everything written in this book is true. But I said you have much bigger problems to come, because I explained how everything is released right now. And I said, your name appears in plenty of documents, some written by you, Sarah. And she, Sarah, she likes to hide. She's like an ostrich. She said, oh, let me take a walk in the park and sing. There's nothing to sing. I said, it's coming. It's not up to you. And we were actually looking at the Daily Mail and the Sun on Sunday. We knew about other letters. But Wednesday night, when I got the phone call that these letters have been found and they showed it to me, I was crying. I was shocked. I didn't believe how could anybody write that because my career with children, charities, and books is so important. You have to understand, she's saying it to a pedophile. I just didn't believe that. And I did actually text message her. And I said, well, you know, you may have an explanation. So, okay, apparently the explanation came from a spokesperson. I personally, as many others, don't understand how a convicted pedophile, a sex abuser who had to register himself everywhere he went, could sue somebody who is calling him a convicted pedophile. I don't understand, unless there's things that she didn't tell us. She told me many things about herself. She confided. I would never repeat it. But this is not only a shock for the nation of England and many others and royalists, this is a personal shock for me.
And how bad do you think this is? How terminal do you think this is for the reputation of the Duchess of York? I mean, Julia's House, the Natasha Allergy Research Foundation, the Children's Literacy Charity, Prevent Breast Cancer, the Teenage Cancer Trust, the British Heart Foundation, a significant reputational damage to be dropped by such well-meaning and amazing charities. It's very, very bad for the Duchess.
Oh, you know, Martin, how it is. One drops like it's a tsunami. I mean, I wasn't surprised that others would join. And I said to Sarah in a text, I tried to put a sidebar in the Daily Mail. The Sun didn't have a space, but in the Daily Mail, I put a sidebar next to the main article explaining that I like her, I admire her battling cancer. I'm a cancer survivor. She urged me to get checked. I try to understand her reasons, but I said to her, Sarah, this is a very, very tough one to explain. And of course, I mean, children charities, you don't know. How can she, look, Sarah, I called her the queen of reinventions, right? She reinvented herself many times, which I was very happy to hear. Whether she can do it this time, there are more things written by her, which that's what we were actually about to print. And I don't know. I mean, she may look, I mean, she's a good person at heart. She just has been under a very, very difficult position.
Daphne,
but I don't know if she can undo it. I don't know.
OK, I was about to ask you, she's not the first person to have been wooed by the huge wealth, the celebrity lifestyle. I don't know what it is of Jeffrey Epstein, but she obviously has royal connections. Is there any way back for the Duchess of York after this, or do you think this could be a sort of career-ending tackle?
I was thinking when she confided in me and my husband that she had cancer, we knew that 3 months before she went public. I was saying to her at one point, because the publicity was so bad, because of Andrew and everything, I said to her sarcastically, maybe you'll start talking about the cancer and that would change your image. And we were thinking about it, and then she did. And I think she did earn a lot of credits for doing it. And she did, Martin she did have 2 kinds of cancer. I mean, it's tough. But I think the problem with that letter is basically she says, okay, I lie to the public, but I am willing to lie for just, I'll do everything just to make anybody happy. And to lie to the public and go behind the public's back and say, oops, I didn't say that. And we did not hear from Jodie Craig, who actually did the interview in the Evening Standard. She basically says that he's a liar, that she never used the P word, right? So, I mean, just to say, oh, no, I didn't say that, or I didn't mean that, it's a problem of not only the specific children charities, which is awful, but it's a problem with credibility. How do you correct that? I mean, I hope she does. I really like her. But if I were a PR, I wouldn't know what to advise her.
OK, wow, it could be very, very bad news for the Duchess. Seems to get worse after a terrible day, a truly terrible day. Thank you. And that's the world-renowned interviewer and documentary filmmaker Daphne Barak. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, in other news today, here's a pleasure. Now, in other news today, here's a reminder of the extraordinary moments that Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, said she would forgive the man accused of her husband's murder.
That young man, I forgive him. I forgive him because it was what Christ did and is what Charlie would do.
It's an astonishing moment. And I'm joined now by the DC Bureau Chief of the Daily Wire, Tim Rice. Tim, it's always a pleasure to have your company. It's a moment that's genuinely moved the world. We've been talking about it all day here in the UK. And a huge question is the power of forgiveness here from Erica seems to be absolute. And it's something a lot of people are finding it hard to get their heads around. But it's a truly astonishing moment.
It really is, Martin. And I think it's that one moment gets to the heart of the whole. It was more than five hours of speakers yesterday, I think 7 hours altogether. And more than anything, more than talking about Charlie as an activist, as a conservative, as a father and a husband, yesterday was focused on Charlie as a man of faith, a man of Christian faith. And Erica spoke about their shared faith as a family. Members of President Trump's administration spoke very eloquently, especially Secretary Marco Rubio. So it was shocking to have, the recently widowed Erica Kirk talk so movingly about forgiving the man who killed her husband, but also at, a kind of one of the biggest gatherings of political figures that this country has seen in a long time, for them to really put politics aside and talk primarily about faith.
Could I ask you a broader question? There seems to have been such a different response from America after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We've seen forgiveness, we've seen prayer, we've seen vigils, we've seen some bile, of course, from the left. But let's get back to the killing of George Floyd. Billions of dollars worth of damage, riots, looting, killings, two very, very different Americas.
Yeah, I think that's right. And again, I think that really it's a credit to the memory and to the legacy of Charlie Kirk, right? I think, people who, as they were processing their emotions, those who were closest to him, those who were mobilized by him, young people who found their way in life or into politics because of him. I think many people probably had that moment of thinking, I'm angry, I want to lash out, whether I want to lash out on the internet or I want to lash out by joining a protest. But then they thought, what would Charlie do? What is the best way to honor his legacy? What is the best way to to help further his movement? And they thought, they didn't want to dishonor his memory. They didn't want to do something that he wouldn't do. They didn't want to, and I think this is especially important, they didn't want to sully TPUSA and the organization that he had founded, right? So many people now think that they're picking up where he left off. So it is, it's, George Floyd was 5 years ago. It feels like it was a million years ago. It feels like it was a different country. I think it was a different country in a lot of ways, but there are a lot of things that you can say about what went into this different response. But I do think ultimately it comes back to the fact that America really was united in mourning Charlie's death.
Tim Rice, may I ask you about the future of the conservative movement, the MAGA movement in America? I think perhaps if the assassin felt they were going to extinguish something more than just the eternal flame, the life of Charlie Kirk, they seem to have spectacularly misjudged the mood of a nation. If anything, it seems to me that the conservative, the Republican movement, the bringing together of faith is growing by the minute.
I think that's absolutely right. Everyone's been remarking, I think it was 8 years ago, the Washington Post ran this piece that said Donald Trump has destroyed evangelical Christianity in the United States. I think yesterday we saw that wasn't true. But as for the conservative movement more generally, I think one thing that people don't understand, and what Charlie's assassin certainly didn't understand, is that what makes the American conservative movement so strong and so endurable is that at the center of this movement is the preservation of America. So it's not just that Charlie Kirk's legacy has now been, 1,000 flowers are going to bloom, right, from the seeds planted by this tragedy, as someone said yesterday. But it's more than that. It's more than Charlie's legacy. Charlie's project was defending America, and that is the project of the conservative movement. So it's impossible if people think they can stop the conservative movement. They can't, because to stop the conservative movement, you would have to stop the United States of America, and that's certainly not going to happen. Not this assassination, not past assassinations, no future act of violence. It's going to take a lot more than that to topple this country. It's going to take a lot more than that to turn the conservative movement on its heels.
Tim Rice, astonishing words, powerfully put. One can only hope that some good can come out of this bleak tragedy. Thanks for joining us. That's the DC Bureau Chief of the Daily Wire, Tim Rice. Thanks for your company. And coming up next, I'll be joined by a man with a plan to completely overhaul the British Constitution to save the country from its state of permanent crisis. You'll not want to miss this. That's next.
dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Hello. Well, it's a mixed picture out there across Europe. Rain and thunderstorms for some, but even still, we've got some warm sunshine out there. So showery outbreaks of rain affecting Madeira, but across much of Portugal and Spain, fine, dry and settled. But there is this area of low pressure, and that's going to bring showers, perhaps even thunderstorms, especially across the Alps. Best of the sunshine across Greece, feeling warm here. And that's a similar picture as we go through the week. Sunny spells and highs of up to 27 degrees.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, earlier on in the show, we spoke to Danny Kruger, Reform UK's latest MP, who has been put in charge of the party's preparation for government programme. Well, one man Reform might want to speak to is my next guest, Sir Michael Ellis, who has written an astonishing radical plan for the next right-wing government that would completely overhaul the British Constitution, from leaving the ECHR to abolishing the Supreme Court to protecting freedom of speech. Sir Michael has considered all of this and more, and it may well be the plan to extricate the British state from its permanent and ongoing crisis. Now, I'm joined by the man of the moment, and that is the constitutional expert and the former Conservative Attorney General, Sir Michael Ellis, of course, as well. That's my panellist on tonight's show. That's GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson, and Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg has just hoved into view to make it the perfect trio. So, Michael, I shall start with you.
Good evening.
A great piece went out at the weekend. It certainly has got a lot of tongues wagging. It sounds like you might be involved in writing a future plan for a future government.
Well, who knows, Martin? I certainly hope, in the interests of the country, that we do something about our broken state. Because there is no doubt that the system is broken, and it's broken in several ways. And having been Attorney General under 2 Prime Ministers and Solicitor General before that, and having been in Parliament for 14 years until I stepped down last year, I can see, and have been able to see for some time, how broken it is. Look, we have some structural faults such that no matter what government is in place, they won't be able to deliver what they want to deliver because the system won't allow it. It is too unfocused, the legal system isn't working, the democratic deficit is a problem because we can't deliver, no government can deliver what they want to deliver at the moment. Judicial review is an issue, the Supreme Court constitutes a block. I'm worried about freedom of speech going in the wrong direction. I'm concerned about other aspects of democratic deficit. So we need to withdraw from treaties. We'll need to leave the ECHR, Martin. We're going to need to do more than that. We may need to leave certain conventions if we can't get them fixed.
The Refugee Convention?
The Refugee Convention will be one of them. Now, having said that, Australia has shown that they can bring their borders under control whilst still being a member of the Refugee Convention. But if we're not able to bring our courts under control, we may have to withdraw from that convention.
There's also the Human Rights Act, and something that really caught my eye, a Trump-style political civil service, perhaps, and perhaps even political appointments within the police.
Yes. The fact of the matter is this. As far as the civil service is concerned, for 170 years, it has now been a mechanism that, frankly, we've got to a state now where it doesn't work. We can't deliver. When the last Tory government tried the Rwanda plan, to give you a small example, the Division of Senior Civil Servants tried to judicially review that decision because they found it so obnoxious. Instead of trying to deliver on that system for that government, they wanted to take their own government to court so that they didn't have to deliver on it. Now, the reality is, I think we need political appointments in the senior civil service, and that's going to be something that works well in other countries. I'm afraid it's time that that happens here.
And you're talking here about also abolishing the UK Supreme Court because it shouldn't be supreme to government.
Well, even the name Supreme Court is wrong. Because in this country, the law is not supreme. In the United States, the law is supreme because their Supreme Court can actually knock out bills that go through both houses of Congress. In our country, it is Parliament that is supreme. So to even call a court a Supreme Court is wrong. What we actually need to do is to go back to the system that worked extremely well since the 1870s and bring the law lords back. They're connected, they know what's happening, and they need to be in tune with the democratically elected government. They're not superior to Parliament. They seem to think they are. They're not. Parliament is sovereign.
This is boshing the blob. It's a full-scale assault on the same problems that successive governments face.
It's going to have to be a full-scale assault. I mean, there's lots of lawyers that never talk to me again, I think, Martin. But look, it's about the future of this country. That's what I care about. It's about making sure that things work, that we can deliver on things. We have a police force that is stymied from delivering what it needs to deliver. That's why, part of the reason why we've seen hate marches on the streets of London. And I think a lot of our conventions and a lot of our processes have, over the course of the last few years, broken.
So, Michael, it's eye-catching. Has it caught the eye of a certain Mr. Nigel Farage?
Well, I have no idea, Martin, but this is about this country. That's what I care about. I mean, we have obviously there's a broad conservative family in this country, but anyone of any political hue must be interested in making sure that this country works and that its systems and its structures work. And at the moment, they don't.
OK, let's bring you in, Nigel Nelson. The Labour Party has faced the same problems as the Conservative Party. It's been stymied by lawyers, it's been dragged down, it can't operate. Surely there's some common sense in removing all these barriers to getting legislation done.
The question is why they're there in the first place. So, I mean, just take the Supreme Court. The reason for the Supreme Court was to get rid of the rather odd situation where the House of Lords was the highest court in the land. So you ended up with 12 law lords marking their own homework. They're legislators. They were putting through the legislation they were looking at. Michael doesn't like judicial review. You mentioned in particular Palestine Action. Well, Palestine Action, I agree with their prescription, by the way, but quite clearly they're not the same kind of organisation as Hamas, ISIS or Al-Qaeda. And a judicial review seems to be a good way to say, is the law fit for purpose as it stands? Should there be a tier system for terrorist organisations?
I want to quickly, if I could, bring in Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg. You've been very patiently waiting there. You've also talked about helping a future government to put a plan together. You two guys should join up and surely phone Nigel Farage.
Well, I very much agree with a lot of what Michael said and disagree with Nigel on the Supreme Court, because it's the basic confusion that this country has a separation of powers. It doesn't. That's an American constitutional principle. It's never been a British one. The British constitutional principle is the king in Parliament, and everything is within that, executive, legislature and judiciary. And that's a very workable system, and I entirely agree with Michael.
So Jacob's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And of course, this is part of the problem when Tony Blair invented the Supreme Court. It was this Americanisation. We don't actually have separation of powers here. We actually had a Lord Chancellor who was in part of all three branches of government.
We crucially have an independent judiciary, and the two are not the same, which was Blair's confusion.
Gentlemen, superb stuff. Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, enough about my show. What's on your menu tonight?
Indefinite leave to remain. Nigel Farage's new policy. Isn't it extraordinary that so many people who are here as guests get benefits from the state? And how can that policy be implemented? Will it work? What are the quirks in it? Because it might exclude people from Hong Kong who actually we invited to come here. So it's a really interesting policy, some of it very surprising about how generous we were before, but I think a fundamental change in the immigration debate.
And a huge amount of chagrin reserved for Boris Johnson. Quick 10 seconds. Is Boris finally over now?
No, Boris is never over. And Boris is the great figure of British politics, more charismatic than most of the rest of the politicians in Britain rolled into one.
Loyal until the bitter end, beautiful stuff. Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, Sir Mike Ayers, Nigel Farage, excellent stuff. I'll be back tomorrow 3 till 6. Up next, State of the Nation with Sir Jacob.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. If you thought it was a bit chilly last night, well, it's going to be another bit of a cold one tonight, with largely clear skies and light winds, all due to an area of high pressure being the imperfect ingredients for us to see our temperatures taking a bit of a dip. So it is going to stay mostly dry through the next few hours, the exception being just towards the far northeast of Scotland and maybe towards the southeastern tip of England as well, where there will be a few showers around. But otherwise, yes, a dry and clear night, which is why we're going to see those temperatures dropping. Even towns and cities getting into the low to mid single figures in quite a few places, and rural spots a few degrees lower than this, a touch of frost quite likely, especially across some parts of Scotland. As a result, there could be some mist and fog patches first thing tomorrow morning, but these will quickly burn away, and then it's looking like a fine sunny start across many southern areas, but some blustery winds and a few showers towards those southeastern coastal areas. Also a few showers for the far northwest of Wales, and could be a few coastal showers for parts of Scotland. Otherwise, across northern England, Northern Ireland and Scotland, it's looking largely dry. The showery bursts across Orkney and Shetland will continue again for a little while, but gradually easing as we go through the day. But the blustery showers across southeast England, they're actually going to pep up a little bit more as we go through into the afternoon. Also going to see a bit more cloud feeding in from the east, so turning cloudier across many parts of England and Wales, but most of us should still see some bright or sunny spells breaking through. And in the sunshine, not feeling too bad, even if on paper temperatures are a few degrees below average for the time of year. Another chilly night to come tomorrow night into Wednesday, and then another largely fine day really. High pressure sticks around, and so the settled weather stays with us as we go through the end of the week and heading towards the weekend. Signs of some rain arriving, but before then really it's staying dry, some decent sunshine on offer, and temperatures, well, around average, maybe a touch below at times. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. It's me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, on State of the Nation tonight.
We will not only say that these people do not qualify for indefinite leave to remain, we will abolish indefinite leave to remain as a category in this country.
Reform has unveiled its most radical immigration plan yet, abolishing indefinite leave to remain. Nigel Farage says non-British citizens would be banned from claiming benefits and citizenship would become harder to attain. But legal challenges are inevitable. Reform insists Parliament is sovereign. But is Parliament ready to use its power? Also tonight, stroking a pony could now cost you £1,000 under new council rules because officials worry it may demean them. And now the Liberal Democrats want cigarette-style warnings on social media. Has the nanny state experiment gone too far? Plus...
That young man. I forgive him.
Last night's memorial for the assassinated commentator Charlie Kirk showed Christian living at its finest when his widow, Erica, captured the world with a message of forgiveness for her husband's killer. Is she an example to us all? Plus, ahead of tonight's launch of GB News' Late Show, could and should Donald Trump be Britain's next Prime Minister? A constitutional possibility because of President Trump's Scottish mother. Would a Trump premiership be the reinvigorating tonic Britain needs and be just the thing to wind up po-faced lefties? And tonight, GB News' much-anticipated Late Show launches from Washington, D.C. We'll be going live to Bev Turner at our Washington studio to find out what's coming up. State of the Nation starts now. I'll also be joined by my most intellectual panel, the former Conservative MP and Minister, Sir John Redwood, and the former Labour MP, Steve